It is summer of 2010, junior year of college, first week of class. I'm sitting in an auditorium packed with 80 other students, listening to a professor telling us what the semester is going to be about. And nothing, and I mean nothing, could prepare me what he's about to say next. Immediately, my heart starts racing, my muscles begin to tense, my breathing becomes shallow and rapid, and I start breaking into a cold sweat. In that moment, I'm thinking, oh no, this is it. It's happening. I'm going to pass out in front of 80 other people, and I will be forever known as that guy. See, earlier that summer, my friends and I were selecting the classes that we were going to take that semester. And it was my turn to choose an elective. So I went through the whole list and I saw one that caught my attention. It was called Rhetoric and Persuasion. I thought, that sounds pretty cool. Interesting, maybe some human behavior, psychology, even philosophy. So I texted my buddies, dude, this is the one we're gonna do. Fine, perfect. Now, my brilliant brain never, and I mean never considered or thought about Googling what the word rhetoric meant. And obviously, I was way too cool to even read what the class was about. I was like, no, I like the name. That's all that matters. I'm just going to let my mind run wild with imaginations. So here I am, in this auditorium packed with people, when the professor drops a bomb. Our coursework would involve giving multiple speeches during the semester. Because after all, this is a public speaking class. A public speaking class? A public speaking class? Are you kidding me right now? I wanted to die. If my life were a movie, this would be the time where the narrator, hopefully Morgan Freeman, aka God himself, the big dog, would say something like, and in that moment, Daniel felt true fear. We all have heard how public speaking apparently is the #1 fear that people have. It even ranks above snakes or death. Just think about how crazy that is, right? Although some people might feel like, nah, I don't believe that's true. Look, whether it is true or not, for me it was 100% true. See, I grew up with a heavy stutter. For most of my life, elementary school, in middle school, even in high school, saying my own name out loud in class felt impossible at times. I was bullied, judged, rejected, dismissed. So to me, I wasn't just afraid of public speaking. I was terrified to talk to others. For most of my childhood and adolescence, I was very shy, introverted, socially anxious, and highly insecure about communicating with others. So yeah, being in a public speaking class for a whole semester, yeah, that felt like being thrown into a pit full of snakes and being told, guess what, buddy? You get to do that every week for the next few months. If I'm honest, I was between a hard place and between a rock and a hard place. I could drop out. Obviously, it was just first week. But my friends would know. They would be disappointed, but probably they would understand. On the flip side, I could stay. But if I do that, I would risk major embarrassment and potentially emotional and psychological torture that I would never recover from. So what did I do? For reasons I still don't know to this day, I decided to stay. Maybe it was pride. Maybe it was courage. Maybe it was the fear of being seen weak by my friends. Whatever the reason was, I decided to stick with it. During the first few weeks of the semester, it was my turn to give my very first speech. 3 to 4 minutes. So I'm standing in front of the lectern, giving my speech, stuttering, mumbling words, being extremely nervous. By the time I'm done, I can breathe. The professor stands up. He looks at me and says, "That was horrible." I freaked out. I couldn't believe what he was saying. And immediately I just ran back to my seat, tried to look at the wall. I didn't want to look at anybody. I was like, I knew it. I knew I was going to be the worst speaker ever. And I knew I should have dropped out. Daniel, why did you do this to yourself? But then I noticed something. He said the same thing to the next speaker, and the next one, and the next one after that. And I was like, hold on, wait a minute. He's saying the same thing to every single speaker. No matter how good you are, he's doing that. And he's not doing it out of disappointment or frustration. He's trying to break the tension in the room. He's trying the class to laugh with you, not at you, which made the class fun and light and enjoyable. Over the next few weeks, I still gave some speeches, some impromptu, some more prepared, and I always got the same response. That was horrible. But then, halfway through the semester, something strange happened. I gave my speech, and I'm waiting for the same feedback. But this time, he stood up, he looked at me, and said, "Daniel, that was a great speech." He saw my face. I was like, is this dude on crack? Is he joking with me? Yeah. I just couldn't believe it. And when he saw my face, he said, "No, you are a natural speaker. You have a great body language. You connect with your audience. And more importantly, you feel your speech." That moment cracked something open inside of me, because it was the first time that someone saw something good in the very thing I was ashamed of. Most of my life, I hid my voice, and now someone was telling me it had power. I wish I could tell you that right after I became a professional speaker, that overnight I started giving TED Talks but of course, that didn't happen, right? It's not as easy. But that moment planted a seed that would grow for 15 years. And 15 years later, I'm standing on this amazing stage, sharing this crazy story with you guys, all because I had the courage to stay when life threw me a curveball. When I look back at my story and trying to find the lesson, in retrospect, I can tell that sometimes the things that terrifies us the most might just be the things that reveal who we truly are. So next time you're standing in fear, remember, you might be standing at the edge of a whole new hill. Thank you.